We started, and I started the recording as well, I think. At least seems to have something. Oh, I keep touching that button and nothing happens. Let's see, let's try it again.
Did I think notice that the auditor's website map is different? I noticed it has like subdivision.
It doesn't want to turn on for some reason.
I was just confused when all of a sudden my house is in a subdivision.
It's not working.
What's happening? No, that was fun.
I don't know why it's not starting. Did somebody plug something? Well, let's call the meeting to order. You can get started and I'll see if I can get this to work. I'll call the roll. Okay. Try this again. All right. Virginia Lewis.
Here,
Tom Mead. Here. Jody Manson.
here,
Brittany Hopper.
here.
Mike Tablet. Here. All right, Jody, I'll relinquish the chair to you and you can go forward.
Introduction of other officers. We have Scott Sanders here tonight from the Oregon County Planning.
Yes.
And we have nobody else. Doesn't need any new access. I don't know if they have new access yet. Don't know who others are doing that information to.
Is that how you? I'm going to.
Yeah.
Wow.
So once Mike gets the new stuff going, we'll have a recording. Don't have any projections, so we don't know if anyone is trying to get into the meeting. If somebody is trying to get into the meeting, I also do not know if we have audio yet.
Basically, if you're on the meeting, you drive to the firehouse, it's really what you told.
Questions from the public, we will take a brief period of time to take questions from the public. Please limit yourself to 15 minutes.
It's like a rowdy bunch in here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Is there anything there?
I sent him a chat, it's not responding to them.
I can hear you.
We may or may not have somebody on here. Moving on to old business, which I would rather have Mike listening to.
Well, Scott can hear us. For whatever reason, Scott, we're having, continue to have technical difficulties. So if you want to ask us a question, you're going to have to send it in the form of a chat. And I'm going to go up and try to get my computer logged in so that we'll know that you've sent it.
I was gonna say, everyone's a good.
Thank you, Scott.
If you can't get logged in, I can also relocate over there if necessary. Or log in on my phone.
I'm not feeling too well, but I got here, get in the building.
He says I can hear, so he can hear the meeting. So apparently out there, everybody can see.
He can hear you, but
We can't hear him, so he has a question for us. So,
it's Scott Buell on the other.
Okay, so we do have a member of the public present on Zoom.
You're jumping right
sorry,
now.
I didn't hear.
No, I'm sure you're on.
Is that one on?
Yeah.
Okay, we will wait for Mike to try to log on to see if there's somebody else who needs to be admitted. Why haven't this really come down? Okay.
You can put those buttons up there.
So, these aren't working, we have no idea what.
I don't know, I can shut the system down, and try starting over.
No, I see.
We're up to all business now. Or, we're up to continuing the review.
Right, so we'll go turn it over to Scott at that point, right?
Okay.
Okay, Scott, well. That is Scott Sanders, Scott, you have two Scotts here, but I'm referring to Scott Sanders, he's, the director of Delaware County Regional Planning Services and been working with us, so he'll be, taking it forward from here. I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
Sure. So what I sent you, I understood was gonna be copied and handed out. What we were doing last time, I think I guess I do have them side by side, but we were on PRDs and we were trying to make the PRD procedure similar to the conservation subdivision procedures, which are overlays, so they'll be in another place, so we can't just take the PRD and say procedure's already been done, so the idea was that we would have a planned district procedure that maybe the PRD and the planned commercial district could both refer to. And then during the meeting last month, I had done a side by side and realized how very lacking the PRD language was, how many things were being missed from conservation subdivision. Some things belong and some things don't, so I went back and quickly, I tried to do the updates to that code. And so now it's been 3 weeks since I sent it out. So I don't know if we go back to the beginning of, again, it would be a new article, so there's, in your copy, it's all section XXL1, XXL2. And in the meantime, I guess I took any comments that we made in the PRD section, or did we, I don't know that we got through that. We did have a fairly lengthy discussion about open space. So I think I did drop in a 20% open space and took out the 15,000, just because that was, we deemed that to be complicated. Make sure the development size is 10 acres. Talked about minimum lot size, so we kept it at 12,000 square feet.
I was wondering, is there, I did not find any place in there that says water and sewer is needed for the rate.
Well, so just off the top of my head, I would think there was a letter required, but not actual services required.
No, it's this many buildings, this many lots into a
Oh, sure. Yeah, you'd have to have, and hit that lot size, you'd probably require that you have to.
So then, these procedures are going to be the same procedures as what we use for PRCC?
No, this is a rezoning, so it has to reference the, the rezoning process. Whereas the others are just a
Oh,
development,
really?
development plan approval.
Got it.
So this would work for, PUDs, PCDs, RDs, and I think about planned industrial, don't we, FDI?
help me out, there's two different sections in, I think, land one. And A, and there's C. C, I think, is what covers all of it. And A. Just straight on. Right, okay, yeah. So basically, what you're giving somebody an option is straight zoning. It doesn't, it's not really district zone. It doesn't exist that you can pull it down. You have to go for all non-units.
Yeah, and you're using the code, right? I mean, you're not really pulling it down, but it's a rezoning, just like they wanted that far along. Right. But you're actually showing a development plan, whereas anyone that far along, you don't. I mean, I know you all probably want to see one. But I don't think those straight districts, you don't have to show where the road and all the roads that.
And this would be for anything less than.
Well, then that
Less
jumps
than
back,
there.
that jumps back to the PRD language where
What
you're
you're
talking about.
now, the minimum.
minimum. It's also PRD or. Yeah, that's just the PRD. And my thought about, as far as using the procedures, to try to catch everything, since we're only working on PRD now, would be, should we get to the point where we start looking through those other districts, then we would, if there was some reference to commercial that didn't need to be in this procedure, we catch it then. Trying to do all that all at once, I think would be difficult, so I just concentrate on the PRD and the PRD procedure, and then we can just make those adjustments later. Hopefully, the other. I know we're jumping back and forth. In the procedure, there is a water supply and sanitary sewage disposal facility shall be indicated by the appropriate. But it probably doesn't say that. Or like sewer and water is required. In the plan district.
Do we include that in the plan district?
Sure, I think we should. Yeah.
Like, we were able to get logged in, and we need to run up and check to see.
Well. I'm not logged in, but I've got a blue bar installed.
Oh.
Only, no,
Okay.
I don't know what's gonna happen. It may be, I'm not gonna get in.
That's fine, I'll run up and check.
Anyone else trying to get on Zoom?
No.
No, okay, Safari can't open the page, so I thought that's why I have to time it out.
Yeah.
So I can't get into,
So. What would be some of the second to zone as a PRD do that? Put it just, whatever, if they're FR or they're AR, it's gonna go.
Well, because you want to go smaller than a 2 acre lot. And maybe you don't. I mean, before the overlays were adopted, then the question was, or the answer was, and that would be the next step beyond just FR1. Now that you have the overlays, the question would be, well, why would somebody do that? They may not like the densities in the conservation subdivision. Will they choose to rezone the PRD because maybe they don't want to meet all the standards.
Is PRD color times, is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there was also the brief discussion, right, about do we write this sort of the same way that we write R2? This is it, it's the only one, we're never doing one again. Because you had talked to Holly about if we're going to use one of these to bridge the gap between straight zoning and a 25 acre minimum chunk that you're doing in a conservation district. She had talked about using the PUD as the bridge between those two.
Yes, and PUD, the way she explained it to me, the way I understand it, is that PUD is organized under 519.021C as an overlay district. And so it's in place here, I don't know about ours, that's what she was recommending.
I don't remember what we did.
Sort of update that to be an overlay.
Well, did you want it? I guess the first decision there is, do we want it to be an overlay or do we want it to be a straight district?
Well, let me take that back, because here in my notes, I got the PUD, our Article 10, is organized under ORC 519.021A. It's the same as the PRD. And so there again, do we need them both? Right now, there's a minimum of 40 acres for PUD, there's no minimum for PRD. But what we're trying to do with both is pretty much the same thing, which is bridge a gap between the overlays of 25 acres and straight zoning of 5 and 2. I don't.
And the PRD doesn't allow, neighborhood office and neighborhood commercial, too. The PUD does.
Yeah. Much broader in terms of what possibility.
So,
I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just pointing it out, to make sure that we understand what we're doing. So the PUD would allow for commercial, would allow for multiple unit type of housing.
I obviously understand that this goes to a public hearing and it would have to get through for it to make any difference, but if it were up to me, my personal preference would be to have more overlay options, because then we get to look more at how they're developing the land, whereas if it's just straight zoning, you know, they can come in and split to anything and we don't have much say or input.
The plan district.
Not if it's a planned district. You're correct.
And so I guess not
Straight
overlay, but a planned districts are more my preference, so if we can do something to
Well, like
switch to
Keller
the plan,
Pines is a planned residential district.
yeah,
So that went through lots of
Lots of
meetings.
meetings and lots of development plans and
Lots of
details on
development
everything.
And the development plans that they submitted and they were approved.
The same as our PCDs that we've had.
Yeah.
And development plans.
well, I guess I don't, but I just haven't read through them enough. If the planned unit district is broader than, and you still have that same planning, then I guess what's the main difference between PUD and PRD?
PRD does not allow commercial.
I mean, you all were, I know it says 2019 at the bottom of the PUD page, but is that the first time it was adopted? I mean, do you all remember the conversation around adopting that? Because I mean, I remember our review, it seems like it goes back further than 2019. It kind of came out of the blue and I didn't know if that was something that had been recommended to you, because it's, you know, funny thing, and this kind of goes beyond, the term PUD is basically the way the Ohio Revised Code refers to all these plan districts. The 2 options, which is actually 3 options, because there's a B, 519 but. So it's funny, I mean, you would either call it mixed use PUD or, and that's like the umbrella term of PUD. So I thought it was kind of odd when the township adopted that, it's just, and maybe you were looking for an opportunity to do a mix of uses where you had
Was the only way.
a little commercial out in front and present and stuff.
And with the Article 10, it seems that it would predate Article 13, which was 1996. So predate, okay.
So maybe 2019 is just some minor update.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, the PRC was later than the PUD. The PUD was
Oh.
first. I'm just confused.
Yeah, and then we already was later in the PCD also. That's important.
Yeah. PUD was one of the most- Yeah, PUD was more recent, too.
PRC.
Can't remember if it was PRD or PCD.
Let's get back to June's question. If we're looking at plan district, in preference to straight B zone, we can do a plan district under A. Or we do others to. C's overlay district. Under A it's not. You gotta go for the zone, whereas in under C, it's pre-zone. And we can just whatever, not.
Yeah, so you better really like it, because you're basically
Opening the floodgates.
kind of hard to say no
Yeah.
if they just follow the rules.
That's why we have some straight there.
Yeah.
Options.
But you say we better like the way we write the
Overlay.
overlay.
If we're gonna do it.
Because we stuck with what, we have.
So again, I think I worded it incorrectly. The plan is the piece that I think we as a township are more in favor of. And so,
But you gotta do it,
well, yeah,
so it's over, it's not an overlay.
I think the regular redistricting writing is a little more forgiving of things that get forgotten. In writing the language. Because it could be added into the development plan kind of thing. But once you got an overlay, you kind of need that wording to be
yeah.
what you want.
Yeah, that's good. And once it's the overlay, that controls everything.
Yeah,
It doesn't come back where we could. We could make some exceptions, but they're very limited.
so I guess my follow-up question then, and again, I have not looked at this resolution nearly as long as the rest of you have. But do we have articles that are districts that are not used at all? And have we, with some of these new overlays, we've said in the past, so we have to have that as an option, we have to allow it somewhere in the township. But if our new overlays are allowing that somewhere in the township, do we have to have all of these? I mean, it just seems like a lot of them are pretty similar. And so could we,
Eliminate.
yeah,
Yeah,
like industrial district, planned industrial district, can we get rid of the industrial district and say we're only doing it in plan?
I think we have industrial districts, we don't have planned industrial. I'm pretty sure we have some kind of industrial,
We do have both in the code,
yeah, well,
and I
on
think
the ground, I think we only have just the straight industrial.
I'm not sure if there's any besides the one that's across the street.
it's still color coded as a planned industrial district.
Well, but can we do the same
If the
thing?
color code is planned, then it's.
Can we do the same thing with those that we've done with, we've talked about doing with R2 and Keller Pines and just say this was used in this one instance, never again, and basically, move those to the back of the resolution, if they're done, we're not doing them again, we have our,
We talked about, because Keller Pines and the PRD not allowing anymore. I would like to allow more. I don't see the point in getting rid of plans that are in district, just because we're getting all these over.
the only reason I see maybe that it's a bit redundant is because of the PRCD and then like PUD, do those all sort of encompass what can be done in a PRD? And again, I don't know this resolution as well as you do.
No, I see that it's very different. Again, the PRCD is an overlay.
Yeah,
Well, the chief was making reference to, the PRD and the PUD. So you.
well, I said PRCD too, which you're right, is an overlay. There seems to be a lot of things that are redundant, except for a few minor little tweaks, and so do
Welcome
we,
to government.
well, yes, but if we're about to get slammed with development, wouldn't it potentially be easier to remove some of those redundancies?
Sure, and I think that's what That's what we're trying to pick out.
Yeah, but
But
I'm not sure.
you're going to the whole point of, I mean, PUD, I don't think anybody, nothing's been zoned PUD.
no.
So if we're looking at,
It might be a good one.
So we make our lives easier by just eliminating the ones that don't exist anyway, and then go from there.
well, so if you look at, you know, planned residential district, residential, and a planned commercial district, commercial, and a planned industrial district, industrial. Not mixed at all. And then we have the mixed use overlays in certain parts of the township. You can do a mix of different kinds of things. Not outside those overlay districts. The PUD, it kind of, the way I understand it, it's a mix of residential, commercial, and even industrial. All of the one district. But it's still a planned district and it's still a rezone, but it's still a case by case rather than saying, here's a broad category, if you like it, build it, and you don't have to rezone. You gotta show us a development plan, but if it meets the standard, we're not going to. So with the PRD then is one of 3 or 4 legs of planned zoning district. Here it says, I'm not sure it's still right, we're looking at 1.5 dwelling units per gross acre. I think that's probably not right.
For what one?
PRD? The PRD. I think whatever density we're gonna settle on, I don't think it's gonna be that.
Yeah, the one that started is given us, still has, this actually makes it at 1.5 million per gross acre. You think that's too much or not?
Well, we don't use gross acre anywhere else in the code, we use net developable acres.
Right,
The density.
and we kept that in the new district that we got, and development, right?
Yeah, and it's even, and it, actually, it's also in the state zoning districts.
Well, yeah, it's not new to the zoning district, I'm just saying, but we kept it, we didn't decide to modify that. Now.
So that is a denser category than R2 zoning. R2 is 1 per acre.
Well, it's denser than what is currently the R2, yes. But that's what we proposed in this revision. I don't remember what it was. What is it?
The R2, I have 1.
Are
One
we
acre.
talking about R2 now, or are we talking about tonight?
Well, I'm comparing the 2, I'm saying, why would somebody choose to go with a planned residential district, if they go, if they have sewers, they can go R2. And is it a matter of density that they can get more units in the PRD if they do some planning? And do we want to encourage that to kind of push people away from kind of suburban? Or
I think you get a design of this development with the PRD that we built that was a lot too.
Any design. If we have R2, it's a straight district. So it doesn't, they qualify in terms of meeting the requirements, and we approve it. And whatever restrictions are that's in the zoning resolution, that's it. No permitted uses, they can do it, as long as they stay within the resolution, then they can go forward. Nothing else is required.
so the setbacks can be the same all the way down the road, you know, and so if you have
Right.
10 or 20 acre site and you rezone it to R2, then basically it's gonna turn into suburban development.
It's rare that with sewer anybody does 1 acre.
So, okay, so you think that we are too, open. Which they
Mhm.
I mean, there may be the person who says, oh, I want to do big estate lot, I'm gonna do 1 acre. But, I mean, they're going through the cost of rezoning anyway, they're gonna lose some of that, I mean, you're not gonna get 50 houses on 50 acres, right? They're really gonna take 10 to 15% out, and just right away. I mean. Everybody is zoning PRD or some version thereof these days. Kind of rare, I think I might have mentioned this before, maybe in the Orange Navy Valley, Liberty has a couple of divisions that are steward on 1 acre, but, you know, the $1 million house. And that's not what they did next door. But that's just a lot of street to put in for one, you know, each house, there's a certain amount of investment in pavement for that street, so they're gonna want smaller lots, even if they're still gonna shoot for really high end houses. So yeah, your R2 is kind of an odd one, but as we've determined, we have some things that are one.
Especially considering none of these R2 is conforming with sewer or with size. And practically none of them are their acres.
I wonder if sewer would add it later. As a requirement, is it a requirement in R2?
Yeah, that was central water and sanitation.
Well, obviously it wasn't at first. They went in first. Or that was applied to a bunch of lots that already existed.
I don't recall since I got on the board in like 2007. Or somewhere around there, I don't recall dealing with R2 at all.
No, I don't think anything's been rezoned to R2. I think it was just somehow set up.
I
that
don't
way.
recall, changing it.
I sent that information to James Jackson and asked him, what, because he had told Jody and I that there was none in the town.
Mhm.
And he was involved with the very first drafting of the zoning resolution, township was on the zoning commission. I haven't got a reply, so I don't know. I was trying to get from him what he thought if R2 does exist, how it got there. Yeah. Because I don't think there's any record anywhere that, like you just said, that someone put in and requested the R2 rezoning and it was approved. Through the zoning commission, that it had to be there from the court bill. And somehow it got assigned. And what Dave thought, or at least at the time, you know, he's telling us that everything in the township was some AR1. And it changed from that. Except certain parcels were in fact identified. Like there were some commercial parcels identified.
Yeah, I think though that they, at some point, they went through and looked at actual acreage of different parcels. In terms of some didn't meet AR1 requirements, so they changed those to FR1.
And that,
Without a rezoning application.
now, so that's, yeah, I don't disagree, but they do the same thing for R2.
Well, is there anything that R2 requires?
But then they didn't look at this, well, maybe that got changed.
I mean, if these can be R2, then they could be, FR1 as well.
Yeah, they're not conforming
either
regardless.
way. So
Right.
get rid of R2 and just make them FR1.
They're not conforming in R2 because they don't have sewer. Or
Well,
they may not even be.
but
No, they're not conforming
They-
even
they
with
may not
sewer
be
because
acres.
90% of them are not an acre.
I didn't.
He has the
I-
summary of
yeah,
it.
right. Looking at the list, so.
I don't think that R2 really is in alignment with where we're trying to go with more planning of the township development.
And I think that's sort of my point. I think there are several in here that if they're not being used anywhere, we could, in my opinion, just say, we're done. Get rid of it, throw it out. We're not using that. If we have viable options for those things somewhere planned. Like again, an industrial district and a planned industrial district. I think all of us would be in favor of the plan. And so if the industrial, straight industrial, either hasn't been used or is used on however many properties, can we just say it's used here, 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 that's it?
I mean, you obviously don't know off the top of your head. You don't have that big map that we walk in there and look at it before, in terms of if there's anything that was some PIDs, they're not PIDs, it's IG, industrial district. Across the road, the cement plant got that zone. Because the trustee came in, approved it.
What you're saying is industrial or planning?
No, there was no plan.
It had to be industrial because there was a plan in existence in the concrete plant, which means they could have, pornographic, story, sexually,
Actually,
Exclusive.
it says they could put not within a thousand feet of a residence, school, or something. So,
it is within 1,000 feet of a residence.
Yeah. so it allows the exception.
Now there's a church.
It doesn't. But I think, when I looked at it today, the color coding on that parcel was dark. And which I thought was the plan.
Well, it shouldn't have been, but you didn't have to.
Anyway, you-
But if it is, that's great, then we can
We
get
don't
rid
have
of the
to
straight.
use
That's
that.
ideal.
It is definitely like a very bright pink on this little map. I don't have a key in this.
Anyway, that's, you know,
Here's my understanding, and I'm not, again, an attorney. And I know you're not talking about getting rid of, maybe just going forward, but not completely. I've always thought the straight districts, just like there will be a neighborhood commercial district. For the little 1 acre site that's between some stuff that needs to be, I mean, it's with other commercial and it needs to be commercial, but making it planned commercial for a single site is problematic, because planned, technically it's supposed to be a mix of uses, at least some open space, or maybe two different, maybe divided in two, and that's your plan. I think in this county, a lot of, we've gotten away with, in a lot of places, doing a planned district for a single use site. And that's good, but people tend to wanna do that, because everybody wants the control over the plan. Because if you ever, somebody new comes in and they wanna change it, then you can at least argue with them. They're gonna point to the book and say, but this is, it's one of the uses that you allow. So probably win the argument to redo the development plan, but otherwise, I mean, if you're gonna require, let's say, 10 acres for a planned industrial district, then what does that do to the 9 acre guy or the 8 acre guy who's in a place? And it's weird to talk about industrial because you can't really think of places where that would fit today. So, whatever happens out, but the overlays that are being worked on out in the southeast corner, right? And so then that takes away really the need to have a lot of.
So you want you talking about industrial uses all along the eastern.
Starting up with 37 and coming south.
or you can go north. A little bit of fun on north there.
Oh, yes, there is. In fact, that's the area that was originally designated
For industrial.
for industrial. It was specifically was on a master plan, preceding the one we have there. That area was the only area in the township designated for industrial. Now, we don't have any area in the township designated for industrial. Which I guess we need.
Did you take it off the map? The last time
It's not on the map anymore.
Well, why not? I don't recall taking it out.
I'm just telling you, it's not there. The map that we adopted in zoning commission did not have that on.
I looked at the language and the recommendation that references it, but it's, I don't remember.
I don't know if that's the master plan.
Good mark. I did circle growth. To go back to a detail that we did on the PRD. I circled growth and I put NDA, but I guess I didn't obviously update that in the thing that I sent out. But then I wrote two with a question mark and for dwelling units per acre, but I guess we kept it at 1.5. So we have. I don't know. I don't know if we talk detail before we decide on that, whether things come out.
Oh, yeah. Because no one knows more.
So are you saying that it's better to keep the straight district in for like the single small lots? That can't use the planned district, that was the plan.
Yeah,
But how do you prevent developers from using the straight districts in a way that you would want them to do?
well, you still provide somewhere on the comp plan where that would. Somewhere where it would conceivably make sense. And then you just tell. That's what it's on. I mean, you can do it, but it's rare that anybody tries to do a single site. I mean, everybody in the county would love to see some industrial somewhere. I think it's good from tax base. If it's clean, obviously we're not talking most of that, but industrial these days are getting a benefit to the community from tax standpoint. You have to have a site really set up for that type of use before. Beginning to. So I guess I'm talking out both sides of mine. I'm telling you, you should provide for it, but then I'm also saying, but you're probably not gonna get the single little, like, and maybe just straight industrial isn't. Maybe, now that I've talked through it, maybe.
At least our strict industrial does not allow landfills, and our PID does.
Yeah. Okay.
Take that out, man. What the heck?
So I guess whoever came up with that was, putting in PID at least get you a plan where you can get the buffering and require certain standards to make sure that it's done in the right way.
If it were a permitted use or even conditional, well, it could be conditional use. State. Not identified as a potential. Is it a prohibited use?
Don't have anything. Additional uses is where we specialize, especially going into businesses.
Right.
I don't see, landfill in the street industrial at all.
There is something that they. It looks like it matches.
I do think that the concrete plant is POD, for hot places. POD. That's industrial, so.
That's okay. So, yeah, but I kept trying to find it on the map here, I didn't see it on the map.
Well, it's buried under all the other stuff that's happening, but if you look at this map, I have to assume they're using the same key. I had this little map, that's not the key, but I have to assume the colors are the same. On your map and our,
The township owns that property now.
Yeah.
So.
we can tell them
And
to give
now,
it.
we know that the township trustees basically do whatever they want to without considering something.
Yes, know that.
Because we have signs and so and so and things that, we're not permitted.
Right.
Move forward, you want? So, you just want R2, you want me to find some language to say, to add to R2 to say. These apply to. I mean, I don't know that you can say. You're prohibited from using R2 to rezone premium property, but there's probably a way to at least try to get at that, to discourage anybody from trying. And just say that it's in place for parcels that are, you know, we're continuing to have it in the code for the parcels that are currently zoned R2, and the intent is to not expand it beyond its current boundary.
Well, if that's the only reason to keep it in code, sound like when I went through your list of, I don't know, 40 or 50 residences, that are probably zoned R2. Yeah. I think that we would be willing to consider moving all of them into the Harlem Center Village residential district. Because the acreage, current acreage from the old tracks from the 1840 and 50 tracks, 2/10 of an acre. And so all of these want to conform, the minimum that you have on here, except for one, is 2/10 of them, and most of them are half. Have, for instance, in the Harlem Village, is the Duncan Glen edition, in addition to the report in 1956 and 1971. And you can say, we just add that to the description of what's in the district, those two subdivisions. In the same way with the Sagagon, we just add in the diesel and the big subdivision in number 4, 57, and 65, all of which predate, you know. And
But they're
so,
not truly historic districts, which is what we were trying to get at.
well, they're 70 years old now.
Doesn't count as a historic.
What? And they're contiguous with the current historic district.
I think with that, how do you consider them down here at the corner of Gorsuch and 605?
Yeah.
Okay. No, but that, we're not talking about those. We're talking
Well, yeah,
about,
we are, there's 4 or 5 houses here, this is on Gorsuch Road.
And the Dunkin' Donuts, they know what you would buy.
that's, yeah, those are,
At Harlem,
and yeah, if they're in Harlem Village, they're not in 605. They're all the way down to.
Well, I don't know where they are, just looking at Gorsuch
Yeah,
Road.
but Gorsuch Road went all the way above the Harlem Village. So they're in that area where the village is now.
yeah, they're this picture, they just have an address on Gorsuch. So they're way over here.
So all these, are in Mayfair, all of those you would include, but yes, I don't like that. I don't think it's appropriate for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one being, they're not historic. Well, well, yeah, 100 years from now, or 50 years from now. Well,
I think there's
Not
different ways
next
to
week.
define the word historic. It doesn't mean that they're historically significant, it just means that there's a historic reason why they're the size they are.
they're the size they are because they were created before zoning existed in Harlem Township. That's how we got there.
And we're trying to squeeze them into some.
Well, you don't squeeze it into something existing, you create a district for, you know, pre-zoning, non-conforming parcels or something.
To allow them to eat.
Yeah, well, that's why we created the Harlem Township, or I mean, sorry, the Harlem Center Village District in order to allow them to become, conforming as opposed to non-conforming. But all of these are non-conforming.
In R2, they're not. I'm saying in a half acre, district, they would be, except for one, they would be conforming. And then, I think, anyway, it's just a way to say, we have R2, but the only things that are in R2, I see a way of moving them into some other district that, whether you call it historic or not, whether you can just use the subdivision name.
We keep referring to it as R two, but we can create another district that do the same thing with these properties that we did do at the center of the
I'm not in favor of creating more articles, I already feel like, let's pare it down, let's reel it in.
Well, you didn't let me finish. We would eliminate R two and have this other one that would just allow these homes, these properties, these lots to become conforming. I'm just saying, eliminate the name. You don't have R two. You get rid of R two.
Well,
That's all something.
why not just rewrite R two to make it work with those?
That'd be the other way to do it. If those are the only ones in the township that are currently zoned R two, then we keep the name, but we rewrite it so it will only fit those
Yeah.
properties.
Well, yeah, but if it fits those properties, you also have to specify that nobody else can use this.
That's what we did with Harlem Consumer Village.
The boundaries were basically the flags on the. You can say the same thing here, the flags from 1956.
That's where the flats came from, 56 all over.
The front
It
page
is earliest one.
Verizon 54.
We got one here that's in 2021.
That's just when the house was built. If you look on the first page, it shows the dates that,
So you put that over.
they were platted. And some of those are, they don't have the year built, they have August is renovated, maybe. Actually, it was vacant. So maybe the house was under construction. It's really vacant.
So maybe that's what we need to do. We would rewrite R two so it fits these properties only.
Consider the risk of somebody else using R two. Because we all wanna avoid.
Because it won't take- it's like right now, no one else can use the Harlem Center Village.
But we would be saying
Step
that,
downward.
that once sewers come in, you still can't build a house on one acre. So don't.
Well, that's never gonna fly. Don't we have those? Like 10 days.
You have to have a minimum of like 25
Okay.
or
whatever.
10, what, you know, whatever the,
So R two is the only one that's zone.
yeah.
You could use it. No, you got all these other overlays. You could do 1 acre lots.
Yeah, but you need a minimum, so if you only got, you got a 2 acre parcel, you could theoretically split it,
One sewer.
and sewer and put enough an extra house on it. But if we do away with R two, that, you don't have that option. I don't have that.
Which I think the township residents would be in favor of. And developers maybe wouldn't be in favor of, which is maybe good for us.
I don't think a developer's.
And developers not gonna be looking at, I mean, they're not gonna buy a 2 acre parcel. If they buy it, it's gonna be in conjunction with.
With
other
the
acres.
enclosure, yeah,
Then they can join it together.
yeah,
I
I
know
know,
that people would be hurting with the, a resident.
Resident.
Have a
Yeah.
daughter live in the
Yeah.
house next door
That-
or something.
That's exactly where potentially comes into play, yes. Just like it does right now.
yeah,
People that want to split their 5 acre lot. They have
You went down to 2 acres, and you put your house on it. You probably didn't set it up so that when sewer comes through, you can split it easily. The house is gonna be split. Now, I would say 90% of the time, so there's not gonna be any way that somebody can wait a second. You know, they'll put the house right in the middle of the 2 acres. That's just that's not a reason, I guess, to not be worried about that.
I mean, you know, with the 2 acres and septic, then you go split it, you have sewers, you just split the septic, you know, for the house, I know that people try to split 5 acres to get another,
And a lot of the family company primarily, I mean, typically something you hear.
And just as a sidelight, not really get it. But, I don't know, Scott, I don't know if you, House Bill 33, one who just signed the budget.
Yeah.
They changed the referendum percentages from 8 to 15. So,
Good or bad.
that means it's quite hard to get it on the ballot. Twice.
So is there a reason we have a acreage limit, with PRD? Why is it a minimum of 25? Or 10, or whatever the hell?
You've been admitted,
I guess I'm wondering,
yes, you're admitted in co-host.
I'm wondering why we have the limit and if we could get rid of ours.
Yeah,
Can we get rid of the acreage limit on the PRD so then we have more control over the development of?
well, and we had talked about that at one point when we just did the PRCD. And we were talking to, oh, the gentleman across the street, who lives in Lane. He was talking about wanting to see if he could do a PRCD because he wants to protect the land by something run. And the consensus was that that was not something that most people wanted. But I'm for it.
I feel like the engineering of putting a 60-foot wide right of way, road, cul-de-sac, 20% open space, lot. I feel like that's tough to do if you're talking single family. And if it's a conservation subdivision, it's even worse,
Can
because
we-
then you got 50% open space, so you've got 10 acres, and 5 acres is gonna be open space. You've only got 4.5 acres left, because the road's gonna pick up.
Could you do something where you sort of step it down, you know, if you have 25+ acres, you need 50% open space, these are your roads, right of ways, whatever. If you have 10 to 25 acres, you need 30% open space, these are your road, right of ways, whatever. If you have under 10 acres, you need 20% open space, these are your right of ways. Is that something that you've done ever?
Maybe somewhere, I've not seen where the size of the, I mean, I know what you're at. The size of your development makes a difference in the standards that you follow as far as. That's another thing, is where you get a density bump. Genoa has this weird, I don't really know how it works. So, you may, and I think they take it out, but you can get a density bonus if you provide more open space. Well, that's kind of inverse, you're packing stuff in by providing more open space, and at a certain point, I don't think people can do that. Cause then you're limited by your lot space, lot size and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The numbers didn't work.
I mean, you kind of did, you know, you got on the PRD, you suggesting it's 10 acres with 20% open space. Which is kind of where you were.
Yes.
And then you've got the PRCD, which is 25 acres with 6% open space. It's totally different world, a totally different plan. You know, it's much more difficult. To do that PRCD thing. And I can see somebody with 25 acres saying, well, I don't wanna have to do this, and split it in half into PRD. Well, or, you know, 10%, 20%.
But 20 on each, so you end up with 40%. And even then, I mean, hopefully at the subdivision phase, we're gonna, and you all would see that too. Still gotta connect your roads together, because we know that you divided this up. Yeah. So then the only way they'd get out of that is to do a cul-de-sac on one and then divide the rest by another. Wide lot.
But it's probably not.
Somebody would do it because it's not worth running, right? To try to avoid it.
I'm still not understanding why 1 acre could not work here. You're saying 20% open space is not option, you can't attain that with 1 acre and a house?
You can. Well, the amount of open space doesn't matter in the lot size requirement.
I'm trying to understand how we can fit a front, somehow fit a 1 acre minimum with sewer somewhere in one of these. So we can get rid of R2, because I don't think R2, you don't have enough, I think R2 is not the way that we want things to be developed. I don't think it's thoughtful enough.
Well, on the one hand, I think we're leaning toward making the R2, whether we call it that or not, making it fit only the ones that are currently.
Yeah, but
But what, then on the other hand, what you're asking, what is,
I thought the concern was, well, then we have nothing that applies to 1 acre lots. Was that the concern?
we could take PRD, which we think most people are gonna use the overlay, we can make the PRD lot size bigger. And maybe not an acre, but maybe 3/4 of an acre. There are developments that do that, and say if you don't. I'm trying to think from the developer's perspective. How they're gonna go through the pain of rezoning. And maybe get shut down. To do a lower density, when they could just use the overlay. And get. A relatively higher density. Of the conservation subdivision to TSF 50% open space, but it's still, there's a plus a lot more than in the.
I think we're learning an awful lot about, taking things, elements of code that sure that maybe not gonna be used by developers, but it doesn't hurt to keep them in there and move on to do something else that we need to get done. I mean, are we just spending too much time on trying to figure out how to condense our code when that's not, in my view, the most important thing to worry about the code?
Well, I think we should have a big chalkboard, because I think we have a lot of things that are all kind of interrelated. But could probably be, I mean, I see your point. And really tonight, we were gonna talk about the PRD procedure and then link specifics for the PRD. But it does beg the question of making sure that the PRD fits in the grand scheme of all these other districts, and that there's a reason for people to do it before we spend time.
Coming back to that as a basic question. With regard to PRD, as a commission, we want to maintain that. As the district, Tom was suggesting that I think, and I could be wrong, maybe I misunderstood them. I thought that we were suggesting we eliminate the PRD and just have a PUD as an option. That would be a potentially a straight district, that it would be PUD or PRD would be gone. Did I miss?
No, but I couldn't defend that.
You can't defend that, no. Okay.
No. I mean, I think if I understood correctly, it's what Holly was suggesting, that you got the two and then you don't do both. Take one out and just go with the other one, but how that would work, I'm not ready to make that.
Well,
We're gonna put commercial in everything.
if we drop the PRD in terms of a planned district and just kept the PUD, then as far as a straight district, if we write it that way, keep it that way, then yes, a PUD commercial would be an option in there.
Or what we could do is to rewrite the PRD, but rewrite it as an overlay rather than straight zone.
I would much rather deal with the straight zoning than the overlay. The overlay, you don't get the student detail.
Condition.
Right.
The overlay district, you have to put all of that in writing in the district, as it's written. I mean, you'll see it. Yeah. And then we're just checking, see that you know these requirements. Check. Yes. And it's approved.
I mean, that's part, the certainty of getting it is a benefit to the developer and the time that we spend on it, so limited amount of time we spend on it, and other things. Not be able to do a deep analysis of one plan district after another. We just don't have time. That's what zoning statute is.
Speak into the microphone.
We do have a zoning director that's staying on board.
So, I consider, and either straight zoning or plan zoning or overlay.
But, I mean, I think didn't you mix? Did you say a phrase? Keep the PUD as a straight district, is that what you said that, or was that mine?
Yeah, I did, yeah, I'm thinking, instead of it being an overlay.
Okay, and so it's straight plan,
But it's
Okay, still a plan.
remain as a plan district,
okay.
but it wouldn't be an overlay.
And so it allows more types of things, not just residences, right?
Correct.
Right now, it's minimum 40 acres, but we don't do that.
But also, we have talked several times about how lots of people are using their houses for businesses that they maybe shouldn't be anyway. And so if we've already sort of got some of these things illegally mixed in, I guess I would be in favor of being done with PRD, sticking with PUD as our main avenue, and just making sure it's tightened up to a point that we're comfortable with.
What you're saying, a PUD was only limited home occupation? No.
I know, I'm saying that some people around here have expanded home occupations that they shouldn't have anyway.
Yeah.
And so if we can plan some of those things to,
Those would make you cook something that would be planned ahead.
well, not necessarily right now, because that one never exists.
But no, home occupation, they change. You know, people move into a house, you know, suddenly they're working from home instead of working in an office.
Well,
And
I like the direction it's going in, because. I mean, the trend would be that we've developed all these single-use subdivisions over the years, and now people are arguing about traffic, and because every development puts all the traffic out in one spot, and so there's this whole book I'm reading about how I don't do the designing of roads, but it kind of turns the way every road designer designs roads kind of on its head, because we've done this to ourselves by making everybody go to an arterial road that now becomes 4 and 5 lanes and nobody ever wants to walk it. So allowing maybe some commercial in development is a good thing. And maybe, because I first thought, well, let's keep the PRD and the PUD. But maybe it's good to keep the PUD. But I don't think it would apply in the home occupation use. But it's gonna be the new development to get set up with some commercial out in front and the residential in the back. And somebody back there is probably gonna be regulated by homeowners association regulations anyway. Tries to do an expanded home occupation, it's gonna be not back in there, it's gonna be out here in the front where you do the neighborhood office. You have the dental office right at the entrance to the. That's just how I see it.
also bottom floors for the businesses and top floors for residents.
In the mixed use, it does,
Oh, sure. And one of your overlays, right, I was just talking about the community.
apartment. In the PUD, I don't think allows apartment. It's for dwelling.
Yeah, well, yeah, we do, single family or multi-family permanent dwelling including detached and detached house. Plus the patio.
The one we have now.
But you're limited in density of two dwelling and one multi-family permanent dwelling. That's where you have plus the patio, common wall, or any other. All permitted by the permit. Do you think under, on page 1003, there's a reference to the maximum percentage of the PUD utilized for commercial or office use being 20%, that may be high. Maybe reducing that down to 10, so you don't have just people using it. Not that we have a big influx of commercial needs. Everything seems to be done residential. If you have 50 acres, 20% is gonna be 15 acres. 10 acres is a lot for the local commercial, but they wouldn't have to use it all.
No more than.
20 would seem a little high, and I think some language that the commercial part needs to be accessed by. You don't want them sticking the commercial in the middle of the subdivision, because then, which I don't think they do anyway. but
Right.
Nice to say that it has to have proper access on the. Sure, maybe the roadside. I think it needs to be subdivision,
Yeah.
I have to look, think about it. What was the discussion that we had here tonight, anything that, lead you in the direction of possibly eliminating the R2 or staying the R2 level at one point in time? Rewriting it to fit the existing R2 properties, and that would be it. We would be limited to that. I think it seems like that's what we're all. Option B. Or maybe just for simplicity's sake, just leaving it R, I mean, why not just keep the title R2, and that way nobody. Yeah, we wouldn't have to bring it out, I said that earlier. And it impacts more than 10 lots, so not even. I mean, I think in good conscience, you wouldn't feel like you needed to notify. You're not really changing the zoning anymore, you're just saying, yeah, this is the apply.
It's just a language change, which goes to the correct use like any other language change, and if they're paying attention, they'll come to that here, if they're not.
I mean, it wouldn't have any real change.
Yeah.
to that.
So, I mean, the impact would be if the house burned down, and people can go.
Yeah, well, and that's where we were with the Harlem in the village, that's why. Because those lots are so small.
Yeah.
The frontage and side, the setbacks that were all
And I think, there aren't any vacant lots. You're built, one grab.
I had one that has vacant on it, but then that showed that 2021. Well.
Yeah, but, there's one with no address, and the owner was Belford, and I believe.
And that was a weird one. I mean, some people own the lot.
And then there are a number of them who own adjacent parcels, so that they're actually bigger than.
Yeah, and they, but if they're separate parcels, they've never combined them.
which means that potentially they could build on. If we say that these are existing, these lots are legal existing lots, and they could be built on, under the Kim subdivision, plus 2.275 acres. So that would be this potential, if you could build 3 houses.
Depending on what we like, you can say, I don't know, we can say 210. I think in Duncan's Glen, it looks like,
Well, there's 3 lots that I have a common over, also on Center Village, there's another 3 of those, 0.2, 0.2, and 0.17. Are those, would we want to consider those all the legal lots?
well, the 0.2 are the size of the Center Village.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
And I would say if they're, and, you know, you were built, they're the start. 40, 70.
yeah.
I'm talking about the one Tim subdivision, there's no address. The other one is just vacant land.
Yeah.
Right now.
I
Can't remember which one it was. Would we want to treat those lots that exist, which are not, currently have no structure on them?
Yeah, but the size of each lot is the same size as others that will consider in here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they could be considered.
Where are, well, we have to see, trying to find, we know who the owner is, so. They must be, I'm assuming, if you listed it on here, Scott, that these are indeed parcels of record with the auditor's office.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of them might have been created as transfers, and so, like those 3, if you look at page 1, I mean, the ones right under the word village are those where there's 6. So 2 of them don't have frontage over on 605. I think that's 2 of the ones where they own those behind, and those those were probably created as transfers, so they couldn't necessarily build on them anyway.
Some of these may have been alleys that were discontinued.
Well, I know that there's one down there, and that's one that I think so that, something land addition at township. Eliminated the street.
And those tend to be odd size.
So are we basically going to now encourage at this point then, Scott to move in the direction of creating the R2 article so that it would fit these existing properties and basically then limit it to those properties, like we did in Middleville and Powell. Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that, Scott. How about, do I need a motion to that, or we just? Maybe we should make a motion to that effect, because we don't have someone here reporting, I don't know what's gonna happen with somebody listening to this, but if we have a motion, it will be clear what are the changes. Okay, I'll make a motion, and, the motion being that, we request that, Mr. Sanders move forward with rewriting the R2 article, to fit the existing parcels that are currently zoned R2 in the township, identified in the list that he has provided, the Duncan Glen addition, the Kim subdivision, and the Easel addition.
And the Center Village edition.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that. Thank you. The Duncan Glen, Center Village, Kids, and Easel. There's 4.
And there's probably
Some people had number two, diesel number
Yeah.
two.
There's two different kinds of people edition, two different traffic limits.
Right? As listed, in the handout. Labeled DCR PC 6/23/23.
Second,
Okay, there's a motion and a second.
To make the plan clear, so that should help make these non-conforming lots conform. That's the intention of what we're doing.
Yes, that would be part of what we have.
Okay.
I mean, if look at,
Right.
we come forward and we get the right language, then yes, these would become conforming lots.
Which is what we like. I
Yes.
just want that.
So that it also is good for the property.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, then I'll ask for an aye vote to say, to approve the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. All right, motion is approved. Scott, you address that issue.
I will, okay, we're done. I will,
Give it to you.
my first job will be to send you a red line version of the R2 and look at the setback. Cause he's not gonna, 15 feet to the side yard setback,
Right.
isn't gonna work, so I'll look at those and rework that and rework the application part, which will define that, so I'll send you a draft between now and next.
And somewhere in there put that, we're not expecting to add more. The
All right,
code is just, the district is limited to,
yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we can pull that wording directly from the.
the addition recorded in these states that you have listed already.
Yeah, you can check the language that we have in the, Harlem Center Village, because that, we have wording in there that probably is similar and work for you in this one.
Okay.
So the other, issue that we've been discussing tonight is what we're doing with PRD and get some kind of closure on that. You want to keep them both, and ask that question.
I say no.
I do, I thought you had to vote, yes.
I had two people say, yes, we should keep them both, and I heard one person say, no.
What is the rest?
Tom, I didn't hear anything. You're undecided? Oh, totally undecided at this point.
I'm not gonna fight too hard over it.
I kind of like what Father has done with the PRD.
Well, he was rewriting the procedure.
Yeah.
So the
Primarily.
procedure, so the procedure would apply to all.
Like in
Plans,
the whole-
PUD,
Yeah.
the PRD and the PID, is that? how-
That would be what I would come back to,
That's
Scott,
all.
would you then pull this out?
I don't think it currently would work. With our PCD and PUD.
Can it be made to work with all planned straight districts?
So that's where you drafted it,
Yeah.
to work for all of the all the plan districts that would not be overlay.
Yeah.
That was the intent, but I will admit that I did not look for language like, parking lot, which would only apply in a commercial or industrial or industrial. But the intent was to use it for all of it, and those can be added as if applicable, if applicable.
So we would have one set of, procedures that would apply to all planning districts that are not overlay. And what we're talking about with PRD the PUD, and the PID, and the PCD are planned districts, but not overlay.
Greatly done.
So everyone's comfortable at least with that part of it, that
Yes.
procedure, okay. Good, I'm sorry, what?
He's playing for. The other one.
I was, was looking for it.
Go on.
Yeah,
Not to throw a monkey wrench.
Oh, boy.
Just, I mean, when we did the multi-use and we did the cluster residential, we have separate procedures for residential on one hand, and commercial and industrial. And they're parking, I mean, it's the landscaping, the parking, the lighting, it's a separate set of standards for one that you don't have on the other. Now, I don't know if we can make one stretch or,
Well,
or
there's a set of development planning, what has to be included in the development plan. And that's where you can say if applicable, if applicable. But then there's a set of, here's what's required in your district, and that's where you can be specific, and you can take part in that. The development plan can then show, we can just use the catch-all, anything required in the development plan section has to be shown as part of your procedure to adopt your development plan. You don't have to list all that stuff out, you don't have to say lighting plan. You probably should put it on. I can't think of any off the top of my head that you wouldn't. But I should be flipping and looking at.
I just remember the issue we had with the PRCD where we kind of had two lists that we were trying to merge together. One was the development standard and one was the development plan. And they didn't seem to be mutually noted. We didn't understand why everything was implicated in that. Model.
Those were the two overlays, or?
This was the PRC, this was overlay district, and we had the development standards and the development plan, and they were separate sections. And they seemed to go on the same ground, but we didn't understand why they were both in there. Why one and why both? And
Yeah, there was a lot of repetition, but there were two divergences.
I see it going down that same path. Here's what you need in the development plan, here's the development standards. Let me ask you this point. Is the development plan for a residential, straight residential district much different from the development plan for a residential overlay? Still residential district. They would think they would cover the same landscape and setback that would have and be more similar than, and you can almost say, planned industrial, planned commercial, but it would be more similar to a commercial overlay. Okay. And I don't know.
yeah, what you're potentially suggesting is because of what was discussed and, dealt with as those overlay districts evolved, is that there was a need to separate the commercial from the residential. And in terms of the procedure. That simplified it by doing it that way. At this point, maybe we have Scott taking a look at it and determine whether or not, in his view, it's feasible for him to have one set of procedures that fits all. And if not, then we wouldn't go that way.
Somebody will know. I'm comfortable with it. Some, I don't know if it's you or how, you side by side, you're Make up the residential in terms of the
Yeah,
development.
that was from Straw. Last one.
That's the last guy. And the cluster residential, district and the procedures were approved on June 21st by the trustees. Yeah. So we're waiting for the 30 days to pass at this point.
Yeah, but is that a starting point for you? You could say, here's the residential district, planned or overlaid, whatever, but they're all planned. Yeah. And I can use that procedure of a straight plan. For sure.
Is what we're doing that different from what other townships in Delaware County are doing,
Or have done.
or have, yeah? It doesn't seem to me we're inventing something, I think we might be reinventing something.
Most of the other amendments that I've seen that we've experienced are overlays have their own procedure in the article. And then PRDs and other plan districts, there's not a lot of attention paid to the process itself. Because, I mean, it's defined in the black code. Following the procedure. But this all started because your old conservation subdivision was interspersed with procedure and requirement. So I mean, that was the first thing that we did, I separated that out, and that's when we found that there was different. And then when the steering committee proposed those changes, now that separation out doesn't, at some point I'm gonna need to go back and revisit. Because now the procedure is handled under the other overlay. Now we have this old overlay that just needs to reference those procedures.
But it should work.
Yeah.
We're pretty careful about not.
And I hope the work we did to separate it out was useful.
Yeah, no, I think it's the right way to go. And or just the rest of it, you have a procedure, is separate from the state. Separate from the.
I mean, this is kind of an experiment, and I did reference it to one of the Berlin trustees about, separating out the process from the development standards, which we would believe. That trustee was like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. So, I mean, it sounds interesting, until you start chewing through it, and then it can get complicated. But, I mean, I think the best thing would be for me to work on it some, and maybe do another one of these, just to show the differences between how the PRD, I mean, this is really helpful just for me, even if I was presenting it to you. Because it just shows where things are missing. Yeah.
Whether it can happen.
Yeah. Or even think how things, language is slightly different. And you don't know it until you taste it one by one, which you don't. I mean, it looks the same until you get it side by side and you really realize the differences. So I would be interested just for myself to do all the very helpful for us to do. Sure. Yeah. And that would tell us, perhaps also then, as we do that, whether or not the feasibility is there and having one set of procedures that's going to fit with both residential and the commercial industrial side. It's not the end of the world if we realize it's good to have a procedure for the PRD and the PUD if we keep them up. And then maybe leave the other by itself. Built within the individual district. Right. Then we go back to that, yeah. But otherwise, I mean, it's, like I said, it's feasible to do it. With the procedures applying to both or to all four. That's what you have to, you would let us know. Yeah, okay. How far along with this do you think we'll be in a month? I know that I can do the R2 part. And I think now I think PRD. Kind of depends on, I don't want to give you so much and. I mean, I thought this was a good conversation, even though we were kind of all over. Yeah, it took us a while to get there. Aliens, right, with all the. There, but, I think we
well,
did
if you could, I mean, you've already said, Jenny, the R2 part. What about the table of comparison there?
Yeah.
That'd be something that, yeah, put that together for our next, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll take it to that point. Everybody? Reasonable?
Sounds good.
All right.
I just, I'm trying to go over some scheduling things real quick. So the steering committee for the strategic planning committee is working on the County Line Road overlay district. On the 18th of July, Tuesday the 18th. And if we don't finish then, we're coming back Tuesday the 25th, but we will have it done by then. And we will present it as an application to the zoning commission on Monday, the 7th of August. And I would assume that you'll get it at the same time. We're planning to have a special meeting and a hearing on Monday, the 28th of August. Which will continue to next Monday, Labor Day, so it's Tuesday, the 5th of September is when we will do the final hearing on that third overlay district. But in the meantime, your meeting on the 31st of August will give us some feedback from regional planning. And with that, it's okay to plan to have the next meeting by the 7th of August. And expect to get feedback by the 31st of August. Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Are you meeting the 31st of August or the 24th?
We are, RPC always meets the last Thursday of the month. So it is-
So even if there are 5 Thursdays.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll stick with that schedule, and that's the schedule we kind of cobbled together. And that overlay wording would come from Mike Cannon or Andrew, I don't know who actually holds that. Just one more there.
Well, currently, what's considered,
Yeah, or once we accept it.
I mean, that's what I meant, yeah. Once we accept it, well, at this point, it'll most likely come from Denver. Unless there's someone that's hired between now and then. That's what's happened in the past. When we didn't have a zoning secretary, Denver was what we said it would. I just think that needs to be a couple of.
Yeah, I'll put it in mind about calendar actually.
That it was sent up to, because like the one instance I did send to you, that was you.
I mean, did Stephanie tell you the rezoning that you had asked about
Yeah.
this morning did come?
And that one
in our mail.
I saw the reply.
And then one last thing on House Bill 33, I don't know if you talked that at all. There's apparently something in there about an 8-year tax abatement on residential development in township. And I couldn't find the details, I don't know if it's part of the final bill. But how are you supposed to fund your school? Let somebody build a house and get one tax. I don't know, I'm just.
Yeah, I'd have to read that. It's funny to hear that, the first part, because I know that the Township Association has a group that's been meeting with people trying to get some annexation laws looked at to somehow make townships a little bit more fairly treated. But they never mentioned anything about raising the number of requirements, required signatures, because that's good news, for township to, once we think so. trend of creating TIF, and maybe even Harlan's doing it, in areas so that even when they're annexed, then the township still gets to collect that money. When I heard that being floated, I thought, well, that'll be fine the first few times it happens, and then some cities will get wise to it, and they'll get the law changed so that the township can't only do that for so long. You could put a 30-year TIF and immediately go panic. And the township is getting whatever the percentage of the TIF that was set up. You know, the township or the city's gonna be like, well, we thought we were gonna get it.
We shouldn't say quick there.
Right. Which is true, but you know that once they find out, oh, well, let's get that law changed. Yeah.
So, but you haven't heard anything about that in your,
No,
again, it came from the township association, and I don't know
the
if
state,
it's
part of the state, OTA.
yes, okay,
Well, I'm always for
yeah, but I just wanted to get them, they could be real on what the actual wording was.
It may have been something like, in situations where someone provides tax abatement, it can't last any longer than, as opposed to.
And it may have only covered infrastructure development, sewers and roads, that you didn't have to pay property tax on the increase in the value until you put the house in height. Okay.
Scott, let me ask you a question. You may or may not have, when you mentioned about it, it's a change that's just, well, I don't know when exactly this is in fact, where the percentage of signatures required for a referendum gone from 8% up to 15% the last week. Is that in effect immediately, or?
I don't know, cause that, I mean, that's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's stuck it into the budget bill.
Yeah, it went into budget, so that's how it.
Want me to read it? The proposed amendment, if adopted, this is an amendment to the zoning, not this. Within 20 days after public hearing, the Board of Township Trustees shall either adopt or deny the recommendations of the Township Zoning Commission, or adopt a modification of them. The board denies or modifies the zoning commission's recommendation, the majority vote of the board shall be required. The proposed amendment, if adopted by the board, shall become effective 30 days after the date of its adoption, unless within 30 days after the adoption, there is presented to the Township Board of Trustees a petition signed by a number of registered electors residing in unincorporated area of the township, or part of that unincorporated area included in the zoning plan, equal to not less than, strike 8, replacing 15% of the total vote cast for all candidates for governor in that area, most recent general election in which the governor was elected.
Is that the only change?
In that paragraph, yes.
The 20 days, was that different too, at the very beginning, like first?
No, I don't remember.
Well, that wasn't a change.
No, that's,
Well, I knew that. I thought trustees had to vote within, like 20 to 40, or.
That's,
Right,
No,
yeah,
no,
but I thought that was
20.
just repeated for trustees, but then I thought it was 30, so I just thought that was odd at 20, but some trustees take a while for things to get to that. No, they may get it and then table it, because they all kind of play that game sometimes. Until they, not on purpose, just to wait until they have an agenda where they can spend time with it.
so if this is, this is the state budget, and the one signed it on the 3rd.
and in fact, that's my question.
That's
I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's in effect, I'm asking every relationship to work, well, not that anyone is out there circulating petitions, but we've got something that happened just before that, with the, on the 21st, with the adoption of the, budget.
I would say it would only apply to any decisions made after that was signed.
My guess, I would have thought that, you still have to be at 8% for that one, but the one that will be forthcoming, 150.
We're fair enough together for a small township.
There's like 2,300 voters in the last. In Harlem.
And the last section of this language which did not change and which I'm not sure exactly what it first says, not more than one such election. Opening up that one. That we held in any 2 calendar years.
I've never heard of that. That's currently in effect.
You have to go back and read 2 or 3 pages before to see what are they talking about.
I mean, it's such a gubernatorial election.
Oh, well.
Well, you're not gonna have 3 different governments and courts appointed.
Does that mean that if the township faces a referendum, they can't face another one for 2 years?
I think it's, on the same issue. Because repeal was on. Then such regulation, and that, I mean, I don't think it means
Any referendum.
any referendum. I think it's the same issue. That's what I think that's the way.
Or that's,
That's why. I think
by time.
yeah, fine. They have to read the way they did because of the time that, you know, okay, maybe it's not. We should go to the group right now.
So they need to get their 15th out.
Okay, anything else? All right, Scott, I guess we'll see you next one, and.
Did we say that one?
And then,
It's the 14th.
the spreadsheet.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It is the 14th.
Okay.
So for our special meeting next for the hearing, are we starting the letters out to the?
I have received notification from Diane that those letters were sent. Yes. They were sent last week.
Okay.
Then you can get there. So, I don't know who's gonna verify that for us. I'll follow up on that. I guess that was my, because Diane just, as you know, to the extent that I know, she just resigned. Suddenly, unexpected. And her, message was effective immediately. She's a serious family. Okay, with that, then folks, we're gonna adjourn it. We'll leave the recess.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, moved by Brittany, seconded by Virginia to adjourn. Any objection? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we're adjourned at 9:22.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Scott, we'll see you next month.
Okay.
Good night. I don't know whether Scott Peel left or not. I took
never-
my phone off,
I never saw any messages from him.
so I found out, Virginia, thank you for going up there and checking on that. And it has to be the Wi-Fi here, but I can't get logged in.
Oh, we did have a question from Scott that obviously we missed.
Oh,
What do you say?
Which one yields a better community? Single-use suburban neighborhoods or mixed-use walkable neighborhoods?
That's it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we really got to an answer with that either, but
Are you
still on?
still connected? Is he still there?
He is not still there.
Yeah, no. No, not unless,
I'm
Or-
couldn't respond outside of the meeting anyway.
They don't,
no, all I would do would be to tell him that we didn't know that the question was there until the meeting adjourned.
yeah,
Please ask it at our next meeting.
yeah, he's not there anymore, so I don't think I can message him back. Sorry, Scott.